Kathleen West, a loving mother, but also an attractive OnlyFans model. A cunning murder or a tragic accident?
For tonight, an arrest in a murder investigation that's gained nationwide attention. A Shelby County housewife was killed. The body of 42-year-old Kat West was found outside her Calera home last month.
Police found Kat West, a Marilyn Monroe lookalike and OnlyFans provider, dead. They wondered if an obsessed fan had killed her.
When 42-year-old OnlyFans model Kat West is found dead, a great mystery unfolds. In the end, there is a verdict. But is there justice? Or was someone convicted of a murder that never even happened? In 2004, Kat Martin married her husband, Jeff West, in Las Vegas. The two had met at a tanning salon where Kat had worked. Jeff was a police officer on a college campus and had previously served in the Army. A year after their wedding, the couple had a daughter named Lola. After her birth, Kat quit her job and dedicated herself to raising Lola and taking care of the household. By the late 2010s, however, Kat found a way to supplement the West family's income. She started an OnlyFans account, long before the platform exploded in popularity during the 2020 pandemic. On her account, Kat uploaded exclusive content for her followers behind a paywall. Her husband Jeff fully supported her. He had no problem with his wife sharing revealing photos and videos online. In fact, he even helped her shoot content for the platform. Under the stage name Kitty Kat West, she offered subscriptions starting at $15.99. Kat had found her niche. She styled herself like Hollywood icon Marilyn Monroe. Her look was well received by her audience, and before long she had built a loyal customer base. To keep their relationship strong, Kat and Jeff regularly scheduled date nights. On those evenings, the couple spent time together without their now 12-year-old daughter Lola. Usually, one of her grandparents would watch her. That was also the plan on January 12, 2018. Jeff's father took Lola in for the night, and Kat and Jeff went out for dinner at a restaurant. Afterward, they stopped by a liquor store called R&R Liquor Store. There, this security footage was captured. Kat and Jeff both seemed relaxed as they picked out a bottle of alcohol each. Jeff chose whiskey, while Kat grabbed a bottle of absinthe. After their short shopping trip, they drove home together. The two had drinks and used the child-free evening to create content for Kat's OnlyFans. Jeff even posted a photo of their drinks on his Instagram profile. There was no indication that his wife would be dead the next day. On the morning of January 13, 2018, Makorsha Purifoy had to get up early. She lived on the same street as the Wests. Still half asleep, she got into her car between 5 and 6 a.m. Like every day, she started her drive to work, but after just a few meters, her journey came to an abrupt stop. Something was lying on the side of the road. Not something, someone. When Makorsha got out of her car, she must have felt the blood freeze in her veins. Lying in front of her was the nearly naked body of her neighbor, Kat West, right in the middle of the quiet Greenwood Circle neighborhood. Makorsha was in shock, but she acted quickly. She turned around, drove back home, and called 911. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but there was nothing they could do for Kat. She had been dead for several hours. It was immediately apparent that she had suffered a fatal blow to the head. Beside her body lay her phone and a bottle of absinthe. The only other evidence at the scene was deep red bloodstains left behind by her body on the street. Kat's remains were found directly across from her own home. However, one detail stood out: the position of the bloodstains. There were two large pools that appeared to have spread over several hours, but Kat had only one bleeding wound. That meant her body had been moved at least once. The entire crime scene looked suspicious. The absinthe bottle was partially resting on Kat's phone, as if both items had been deliberately placed. Police concluded that someone had intentionally arranged the body and the objects at the scene. This was no strange household accident. It was now officially a homicide investigation. Forensic investigators found 9 fingerprints on the bottle. Dried blood was visible on the ground. Also, they find a crack at the bottom of the bottle. Accordingly, investigators suggested it had been used as the murder weapon. At the time of her death, Kat was only wearing a sports bra. Forensic testing found traces of semen in her intimate area. However, the sample was too small to identify a clear source. Naturally, police began questioning neighbors, but no one had seen or heard anything suspicious on Friday night or Saturday morning. Makorsha Purifoy was the first and only person to discover Kat's body. As the police secured the scene in front of the house, Jeff West stepped outside. He asked what was going on. One of the officers informed him that his wife had been found dead. The officer then asked Jeff how Kat could have died. Jeff explained that he had gone to bed as usual the night before. However, he and Kat had an argument. She had been constantly looking at her phone during their evening together. At some point, around 10 p.m., he got so annoyed that he threw her phone outside into the yard. Kat had gone out to retrieve her phone, and he had simply gone to sleep. He claimed that he only woke up the next morning because of flashing police lights and the barking of the family dog. Jeff also mentioned that the front door had been wide open. The oven in the kitchen was still on, and a plate with bagels was sitting inside the microwave. The family had a home security system, which showed that the front door had been opened at 1:51 a.m. and was not closed again until 5:12 a.m. Jeff also told police that Kat had often fallen while drunk and hurt herself in the past. With this, he implied that Kat's death could have been an accident. The police, however, believed it was murder. A forensic search of the West family home was conducted. Investigators confiscated a towel from the guest bathroom, which had a small amount of blood on it. Other than that, the search came up empty. No further blood traces were found. Soon after, the police learned about Kat's OnlyFans activities. Investigators considered the possibility that Kat had an online stalker, perhaps a subscriber who had become obsessed with her, followed her in real life, and eventually murdered her. The police proceeded to investigate the accounts of people who followed Kat on the platform. However, during their investigation, they found no evidence that any of them could be her killer. The only person who seemed suspicious was the one who had helped her run her account, her husband. On February 22, 2018, Kat's husband Jeff West was arrested. He was charged with the murder of his own wife. As a result, he was placed in pretrial detention. To be released, Jeff would have to post bail of $500,000, money he did not have. So, he remained in jail, repeatedly proclaiming his innocence. Jeff insisted multiple times that he could never have hurt his wife. Surprisingly, Kat's parents support him. When Jeff was arrested for their daughter's murder, Kat's parents were shocked. They repeatedly spoke out in his defense. In multiple interviews, they emphasized again and again that they simply could not believe Jeff had murdered Kat. Even during the trial, Jeff West maintained his innocence. Although he did not testify in court, his lawyer presented an alternative explanation. On the night of January 12th to 13th, Kat had fallen and sustained her fatal head injury. Jeff had often told friends in the past that Kat was clumsy. Especially when drunk, she acted recklessly, often wandering outside late at night. According to the defense, that's exactly what happened that night, but this time with tragic consequences. Kat's parents also testified in court on behalf of their son-in-law. They stated that their daughter had a drinking problem and often went overboard. She frequently injured herself as a result. Kat's mother testified that she had personally witnessed Kat drunk and barely dressed, dancing wildly. For Kat's parents, the idea that she died from an accidental fall while intoxicated seemed far more plausible than the idea that her husband had killed her. However, a medical examiner disagreed. While it wasn't impossible for Kat to have suffered such a deep head wound from a fall, given her small stature, the examiner stated that it was highly unlikely. Digital forensics experts discovered that at 5:19 a.m., a call was made from Jeff's phone to Kat's phone, presumably to create a false trail and make it seem like he was concerned about his wife's whereabouts. The fingerprints on the absinthe bottle were identified as belonging to both Kat and Jeff. At first glance, Jeff's prints on the bottle weren't unusual. After all, he and Kat had purchased it together. However, the police were convinced that the bottle was the murder weapon and that Jeff had used it to kill his wife. During the autopsy, it was determined that the size of the wound matched the exact size of the bottom of the bottle. As further evidence, the prosecution presented numerous text messages between Kat and Jeff in court. In one message, Kat wrote to Jeff, "Prove yourself now or it's goodbye. No more games. I will never spend the holidays with you again. It's the same every year. My family treats you like family. Your mom treats me like shit. I'm sick of you being too scared to stand up to your mother even though she's a bitch. And this after nearly 14 years of broken promises. I love you. You don't love me." As a counter-argument, Jeff's defense team presented other text messages between the couple that appeared normal. In those texts, they talked about their plans, discussed their daughter, and at times, Kat even sent Jeff topless photos. According to the defense, the angry messages presented by the prosecution were nothing more than normal marital arguments. However, the most damning piece of evidence against Jeff was his own statement to a police officer. But is his statement consistent? After Kat's body was found, Jeff claimed he had woken up to the barking of the dog and the flashing lights of the police outside. When he went downstairs, he saw that the front door was open. But the home security system told a different story. While it was true that the front door had been left open, the logs showed that it had already been closed again by 5:12 a.m. However, the police didn't arrive in the neighborhood until around 5:10 a.m. That meant Jeff could not have seen the flashing lights of the police before closing the door. So he didn't wake up because of the blue light, but rather beforehand. In other words, he had lied. Additionally, data from Kat and Jeff's health apps were included in the investigation. Both had step counters installed on their phones, which recorded their movements. Kat's last recorded steps were between 10:45 p.m. and 10:54 p.m. After that, her phone showed no further movement. Jeff's phone recorded his second-to-last movement on January 12th at 10:17 p.m., with 10 steps logged. The final movement was recorded between 11:03 p.m. and 11:10 p.m., with a total of 18 steps. This contradicted his claim that he had gone to bed around 10 p.m., and could be yet another indication that he had lied. The next recorded movement on his phone occurred on January 13th, between 5:12 a.m. and 5:22 a.m., with 59 steps registered. This matched the timestamp when the front door was recorded as closed at 5:12 a.m., according to the security system logs. However, it's important to note that the steps are only recorded when the phone is actually on the person. For example, in a pocket, if someone leaves their phone in one place but moves around, the step counter would not track their movements. Here, a short personal note. I have one of these step counters on my phone, probably like many of you. Depending on the sensitivity of the device, my phone sometimes records steps even when I'm not actually walking. For example, when I move my hand while holding my phone. Other times, it doesn't count steps at all even when I'm walking. So, can we really conclude that Jeff got out of bed just because his phone recorded 18 steps after 11 p.m.? It's hard to say, but those are just my personal thoughts. Let me know in the comments how accurate your step counter is. I can't recall any other case where step counter data was used as courtroom evidence, probably because these apps can be somewhat inaccurate.
This is a tragedy. There is a victim. This victim does have family. There is also a offender that has family. It's a tragedy all the way around for everybody involved.
Guilty. A Shelby County man is facing prison time after a jury convicted him of killing his own wife.
Ultimately, Jeff West was convicted of manslaughter. He did not receive the maximum sentence, officially because the judge considered that Jeff West had no prior criminal record. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison. This means he will be released in 2034. Jeff attempted to appeal his conviction, but his request was denied. So, he will remain in prison for another decade for the manslaughter of his wife, Kat West. And with that, we've reached the end of today's case. While we do have a convicted perpetrator, this case remains highly controversial. Many people still believe that Kat West died from an accident, and that the murder Jeff was convicted for never actually happened. What do you think? Do you believe it was a murder? Or do you think Jeff was wrongfully convicted? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you'd like to support me, please leave a comment or a like. Any interaction helps boost the video and makes it more likely to reach people who haven't subscribed to me yet. Here you can see the story of the most attractive murder ever, a story full of lust, love, and lies. See you soon. Stay safe.